So finally, here we are, the theory of planned behavior, part 3, right? So we spent all this talking about the theory of reasoned action. Now we're talking about the theory of planned behavior and the element that it adds in, and that is perceived behavioral control. So as we look at the theory of planned behavior, just as with theory of reasoned action, we're talking about attitudes and subjective norms all calculated exactly the same way as in the theory of reasoned action, but we're adding to it perceived behavioral control. That's it. So it's TRA plus now, we're at theory of reasoned action, TRA plus perceived behavioral control, they call it PPC, and that gives us TPB, theory of planned behavior. As I said before, lots of initials here, but I try to lay off of them. It just gets to be too much. All right, perceived behavioral control is called PBC. I'm going to call that here because perceived behavioral control is a mouthful. There are two pieces that make up perceived behavioral control. The first is control beliefs. And control beliefs are external to us, right? They're the stuff that we don't have any really direct control over. This is not about my ability to do something. It might be about whether or not I have the income to do something or the time to do something. Those we consider to be external to me, because ability is about do I have the knowledge, do I have the capability, right? But then external to us is about, like, say, maybe income or time. And so it might be, and that blank keeps me from doing it, right? Whatever it is, right? So when I lived in an apartment in Louisiana, I wanted to recycle. I thought it was a good thing to recycle. Right? So my attitude was pretty strong there because I thought there were good outcomes from recycling. I listen to all the people and I support them when they say should be recycling, so subjective norms were good. The problem is there is no recycling in my apartment complex. Apartment complexes have a tendency not to do recycling. So I did very little recycling because not having convenient access to the places we recycle, right, would keep me from doing it, right? So we also might look at the things that support you doing things, right, the things that make it capable for you to do things. But however it is, right, whether it's external factors support you doing something or don't support you doing something, as I said before, not having the money to go to school or having the money to go to school, we rate as being somewhere between a -3 and a +3. This should be feeling very familiar now, right, the way we're scoring things. The other piece of PBC is our perceived power. This is our ability. This is the stuff that we feel we have that really is within us. Our ability, our capability. It's essentially, I know how to do it. Or maybe I don't know how to do it, right? And that puts you on a -3 to a +3. So everybody probably knows how to recycle. It's probably not really the great challenge. But sometimes when we talk about things like eating healthier, people say, well, I don't know, I don't really know how to cook, so I end up relying on fast or drive-through and fast food a lot, so I don't really know how to eat healthier, right? Or I don't really have the ability to eat healthier because I can't really prepare my own meals because I don't really know how to cook, right? As opposed to a control belief would be, I know how to make healthier food for myself. I don't have access to healthier food, or I can't afford healthier food, right? And again, we're scoring this -3 to +3. And just as before, to calculate PBC, you multiply the scores. You would multiply a control belief score of, say, I can't afford college is a -2 times the perceived power, which is, yeah, I mean, I think I can go to school, I just can't afford it, so it'd be a +2, right? Their perceived power is a +2, but they're feeling that they don't have the money for it, or in fact, they don't have money for it, would be a -2, we'll say. That would be a -4. That would be then resisting the likelihood of somebody going to college. So that's how you deal with PBC. I want to jump now into why do we have to add in PBC? What's the big deal? So the impact of PBC. Why is this different from attitudes and subjective norms? Let's look at two examples to talk about how PBC has a special impact on attitudes and subjective norms. Let's talk about eating organic foods, right? A person might say, I think it's great to do. I think that when you eat inorganic foods, you're putting certain chemicals in your body, certain genetically modified materials in your body that I don't like, so I think it's great to eat organic foods. All right, so the attitude is positive. Everyone I trust tells me I should. right? I read magazines that talk about the importance of organic food. I see people who I really respect, and they talk about taking care of themselves and eating organic foods. I think, yes, absolutely. So now my subjective norm is high. I should be eating organic food. But then it turns out organic foods are expensive and I can't really afford them. Well, that might mean, or a good chance it means, that I'm not going to eat organic food. I think it's great to do it. I feel a lot of support for doing it, but I just can't afford it. So PBC obviously is pretty important here. Let's look at another example. Stopping smoking. A person may well think smoking is bad for me. That's the attitude. It would mean a lot to the people I love, right? If I stop smoking, it would mean a lot to people I love. That means there's a pretty good subjective norm there. But when people say, I don't think I can quit, I don't think I have it in me, right, which is about their personal ability, right, it's internal, or I think it's too hard, you can see how that's going to interfere with the person stopping smoking, even though they think it's bad for them to be smoking, and they know how much it would mean to people if they did stop smoking, right? So that PBC, really very important here. So in short, the impact of PBC is huge, and I mean huge. Often, in fact, the research tells us that PBC can be the decisive factor. More than attitudes, more than subjective norms, more than both those put together, many times perceived behavioral control alone will predict whether or not somebody does something. Not always, certainly not always, but many times perceived behavioral control, PBC, is often the deciding or the decisive factor whether or not somebody engages in a behavior. So why don't we just look there? Well, there's a giant but coming, right? But when PBC is usually high for everyone, and what I mean is certain things that really pretty much everybody feels they have control over and the ability to do, right? If there's something that basically everybody feels they have control over, because some people may don't feel they have control over whether or not they can go to college, or they have time to exercise, or they can prepare a healthy meal. They don't feel they have control over that, or they know how to. But if we have a situation where like everybody feels they can control the circumstances and they have the ability to do something, then PBC matters less. Then subjective norms can be important, attitude can be important, and it will really vary by the behavior. I'll give you an example that the research has specifically shown. A research by someone by the name of Parker, which is just funny to me, has done research on driving dangerously. It's funny to me, right? Parker driving, I don't know, I'm easily amused. Anyway, so driving dangerously in this study was operationalized or described as being things like driving excessively fast, running through red lights, following too close, and I think cutting in and out of traffic was the other behavior. When you're driving, generally speaking, you probably feel that you control, right? You have control, right? You are the one in the driver's seat. You are the one at the steering wheel, operating the pedals. So a person driving generally probably feels that they have control. So their PBC, we'd say, is high. They feel that external forces don't affect their driving, and that they have the knowledge of how to not run a red light or not, right? And external forces are not pushing them through a red light or not. On the whole, really, they have complete control. So why are you driving excessively fast? Why are you running that red light? Well, it's probably going to be something else. And actually, they found in that study, or Parker found in that study, that it would seem to have been subjective norms. Subjective norms played more of a factor in somebody driving dangerously. What they think other people think of them did more to affect their driving than did their perceived behavioral control. Some work done by Stone and Jawahar on why people cheat on schoolwork found that, again, PBC is pretty high. You really have control over whether or not you're going to look on somebody else's paper, whether you're going to bring in a cheat sheet for an exam you're not supposed to, whether you're going to copy an answer from a website. You can control that. No external forces affecting you to do that. You have the ability to not bring in a cheat sheet, right? You can control that. But the researchers found that attitudes, the outcome of the behavior, often drove students' decision to cheat on their schoolwork, right? Because they they saw that passing this class was necessary for them to graduate, so that outcome was sufficient for them to then cheat. Right, so in that case then, as I say, perceived behavioral control, PBC, didn't matter. In that case, it was attitude. Right. So that, or really those are the theories, theory of reasoned action and theory of planned behavior.